Boys, we're live.
All right.
Yeah, baby.
Well, thanks for coming, boys.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
No worries, man. I know you guys are coming through to do some comedy tonight here in Dayton. You guys are over across at West Milton, right? Doing a comedy at Sour Mugs tonight.
Sour Mugs, yes.
Good stuff. Yeah, Gabe Kia headlining that.
Yeah. Sure.
You guys are gonna have a good time. I've done that spot a couple times. Wyatt's a good guy, and they run a real cool show over there. So
excited.
You guys are gonna have some fun. But let's talk about comedy. I know we were talking a little bit before the show, just a little bit about your backstory, Dusty, and I don't know a ton about your backstory either, Will, even though we've hung out a couple times and podcasted a couple times. So I'd just like to know some of your guys' inspirations. We were talking about some of mine. I got some of the people that I look up to hanging on the wall, and I just want to know about how you guys started, and then some of your influences, just so we could kind of trace stories on that, and then I don't know, we'll just see where we go.
Yeah.
I grew up with my dad, in the VHS era, and watched Eddie Murphy Raw on VHS and a lot of those in the early 80s. And comedy movies like Revenge of the Nerds and all that stuff, Beverly Hills Cop, all that stuff that came out. So I was always kind of drawn to the funny, the laughter, because it's, that's what I was introduced to it at an early age. But in the 90s, Chris Rock's HBO special, the one where it had the big C and the R in the background.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the special. That got me.
Bigger and Blacker?
Bigger and Blacker. When he came out and he did the bit
Bring
about...
the Pain. No, that might have been Bring the Pain.
Where he said there's a difference between black folks and I was like, he can't say that. It don't matter who you can't just. I understand he's black, but you still. And I was amazed, and then I was like, wait a minute. You can say whatever you want if it's funny.
Yeah.
One of the best bits I think ever performed. Yeah.
That dude, and I watched it the weekend it came out, because at that point we had HBO, and I watched it, the release of it on HBO, and I've been comedy everything ever since. It's just been I've loved comedy since then. That was the hook.
What about you, Will? How'd you get pulled in?
So when I grew up, I didn't have we never had cable. My dad and my mom were like, no to cable. So I only had regular TV. So when I grew up, it was anything that I could watch that was on. So the main shows I was watching was Seinfeld. And then I would watch they would have UPN, and they would have Moesha and the Parkers, but then I'd watch Third Rock from the Sun and Home Improvement. So I always had a super diverse sitcoms that I was into, and I grew up. I remember, Seinfeld is probably my favorite sitcom of all time, and so I just grew up just reciting Seinfeld. I've seen every episode a billion times, and the Bernie Mac show. So all those regular TV shows that were on TV.
Bernie Mac. I was a huge fan of the Bernie Mac show.
I was watching that, and I didn't really see stand-up until, I don't know. I remember watching Kings of Comedy, and that was the first stand-up that I saw. And it was the first thing that I was amazed by, because I had never seen people that were that funny that consistently for that long.
Yes.
And so
it's a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, it is.
And
but
it's
everybody
in between.
everybody kills it.
It's such a good piece.
Yeah, it's solid.
A lot of people I always get into people because they were Bernie Mac did the best, and I was my favorite was always Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah.
And I thought he had the best set of the Kings of Comedy. And so, but from there, I've always been into comedy, not necessarily just stand-up, but anything that was funny. And I've always been, kind of silly. So elementary, middle, high school, I've always been class clown.
Yeah.
Life has always been something that I've decided to laugh at from an early age, because like I said, dirt poor, Western Kentucky, 90-acre forest without running water in the 90s. That's how I grew up, and so I had to learn to laugh about stuff.
Yeah.
So if not, you're going to get real depressed about the situation you live in, and look at the world around you where people are getting internet.
Oh yeah,
and you
100%.
ain't got sewage.
No, 100%, dude. I used to live in a van in a campground with my mom for 2 years when I was a kid.
In a van?
In a van, bro. I lived in a van and in a tent, and I lived on the streets at some point, because I got abandoned by my mom when I was 13, bro, and she didn't come back for 2 years. So I been working and been on my own since I was 14. Basically, had a regular job, and So like I'm the same way, bro. Like
You have to
comedy,
laugh about it.
you gotta laugh about it because that's all you got when you're poor and you're growing up around.
I didn't know.
Like that's your only ammo. That's like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's all you.
I didn't
have.
know white people could be poor. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
bro.
the first
I was
I-
in foster care too. I understand you went through foster care too. Is that
No,
is that
I
right?
was adopted at birth.
Oh, you were adopted at birth.
Yeah, so
Wow, that's interesting.
By those rich white people.
Can you tell me more about that? Yeah, can we talk more about that?
Those
Yeah.
are the white people that can't be poor. The ones that they allow.
They obviously had cable because all the channels growing up. I was watching my wife and
They
kids.
could
You had
afford
UPN.
cable. They just didn't want
And
it.
CBS.
That's true. But like people, so my mom is white, my dad's black, and then I have 3 sisters who are not adopted. But yeah, like that's I never really. I only ever realized I was adopted a lot of times because when you grow up adopted, even though your mom's white, you know what I mean, you still kind of just forget sometimes just because you're so. Like, I've never known anybody other than my mom and my dad. I've never known anybody than my sisters. So you kind of forget until, like, you go into, like, a public school bus. And then, like, they'll let you know real quick that it's weird that your mom's white, you know. And
Why is your mom so white?
yeah, they would say it. They would be like, they were like, you come out of her? And I was like, well, no. You know what I mean? I'm not mixed. So, I don't know. But I think that it was good for me just to.
You should have said, "Yeah, I came out of her. I just didn't mix well.
Yeah.
They didn't shake me long enough."
I couldn't blame that on like genetics or something. So I was like, but I think that weird dynamic, I guess you could call it, is what helped me with comedy. It made me more diverse.
Dude,
in
only
essence.
interesting people are good comedians.
Yeah.
Right?
What's the?
There's a lot of duds out there. I don't know if you met them.
Tony Hinchcliffe says, if your parents are still together, you're probably not funny because if you haven't been through anything,
Yeah,
if there's
dude.
not something
Yes.
that's happened or about you, then how do you know how to be funny?
Yeah.
You've had it too easy.
Dude, that's
you
powerful
think,
stuff.
You know you may know what funny is, but that doesn't make you funny.
Yeah.
Right.
I got to see Tony live. I've seen him a couple times live, but I got to just got to see him headline in Austin at the Mothership, and dude, it's really cool seeing your heroes like blow up and take the next step, just because it means it's possible for all of us, man.
Yeah.
And like, dude, Austin's the next level down there, like for real. Like
I can't. It's like next week I move to Texas permanently.
You better be there, dude.
Yeah,
Show up.
I'm moving to Fort Worth. My wife's military, and we're getting moved from.
That's like
Fort
2
Knox.
hours away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's worth
I'm
driving in a couple times a week.
I'm gonna be down there.
Yeah, dude, you can get on stage a lot down there.
Yeah.
And if you get picked on Kill Tony, dude, they would love you down there.
Yeah,
For real.
I'm-
It's
I'm-
not glamorous. It's not like a New York City. It's a tough Texas town.
Yeah,
I gotta it was
I'm-
it was like a Cincinnati or a Louisville or something.
Like the crowds or just
Like
in
the
general?
crowds and the way the city is in general just
Yeah.
reminds you
Yeah.
of something. It reminds you of one of these cities we already know. I was a little bit nervous going down there because you go somewhere you don't know.
Yeah, they're
You've never
moving
been
me
before.
to Dallas, and I'm like, that's
That's
big
even
city.
closer. That's about an hour 45.
Yeah, well, it's Dallas Fort Worth area, so we're somewhere down in there.
That's cool. You guys will have
But-
Buc-ee's. You have.
Yeah,
There's enough.
I have Austin. That's all I'm worried about.
That's
'cause
where you want to be, dude.
I've built a business for over a decade since I got out of prison in Louisville as a general contractor, and what do I get to do? Go down there and start all over again at that? No, I'm good. I'm
Yeah. Do stand up, dude.
doing stand up. I've already booked a feature spot at Hyenas on July 8th. So
That's awesome.
That's dope.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, you
just
gotta
waiting when I get there.
get up to
Yeah.
the creek and the Mothership and Sunset Strip and
Yeah.
there's the East
yeah.
Austin Comedy Club. There's so many. There's like a dozen clubs in that city.
How many people that comics there are actually from Austin?
I would say a small amount, and those people are getting pushed out because it's a
'Cause they're
different
not-
scene. It's
they're
like a
not funny.
woke scene, and they're not. It's just kind of they try to like bombard shit and take over, and this is just words from the inside, and so they're kind of being pushed out, man. Like that's what I've heard. So. It's the new
Yeah,
thing
that's
that's been
what I-
happening
that's
for the
what I
last
was-
2 years.
Oh,
It's
man.
like the people who are moving there to be able to say what they want and be free and be
Are not-
be funny and have fun. Those are the people who they want.
Yeah, because it was kind of weird at first when they all started moving there, and I was like, isn't Austin like a big, blue spot in Texas? And all these comics are moving there, and how are they going to do real comedy? But
things
Hey,
changed. The
they
atmosphere-
doing it down there in Austin.
The
Yeah.
atmosphere has changed, man. I mean,
Yeah.
they're locking up phones and they're having fun.
Yeah.
It's the real
that's
deal.
the key right there.
That's the real deal.
you can't
cat's
get
gonna
me
choose
canceled if you can't record me.
Yeah. Well, I went to go see Ari Shafir a while back at Zany's, and he locked up the phones
Yeah.
and stuff.
Dave Chappelle did that too when he was at the Palace.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
Yonder Bags is where it's at. That's if I ever make enough money to have Yonder Bags, then that's how you know you're doing good.
Just start buying them now.
Yeah, just buy them now. I know. Dude, I'll tell you guys this. I'm about to go all in on myself, and I'm about to. So you guys make sure you get one. I'm gonna take my last unemployment check. I've been on unemployment since December of last year, and
Since March of 2020.
since last year. Yeah, the pandemic. It's still going.
I'm still drawing that pandemic unemployment.
But I'm about to go into business for myself. I'm going to go ahead and get my comedy LLC, and I'm going to spend my last check getting some merch. So, the Morning Woods podcast T-shirts, guys.
Hey.
All right, hey,
come on,
look,
my kids need you guys.
Look, I got some T-shirts, merch in the truck. I'll bring you one in, and then when you get yours, you send me one.
100%, dude. I
All
got
right.
you. Hell yeah, Dusty. Thank you,
All
dude.
right.
That's awesome.
What size T-shirt you want?
2X.
All right, I
might not have one of those. Yeah, you
I
might
might
not.
have one, or either or a 3X. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll
dude.
see.
I look like a giant lumberjack. I know it's it's difficult, but
You look like Hitler if he was a bodybuilder right now, Doug.
But you know, like we were saying, it's different. Like different places have different types of comedy in them already, and then you took like world headliners and put them all in one place. You're getting real good comedy that way down there. That's the norm now.
It's
It's
like-
not what the city was before.
Do you feel like in your respective cities that you can't say or do everything that you want to do on stage?
100%.
Oh, I can.
I think
I
that
do all the time in Louisville, and they don't.
You got to go to the right places. I'll tell you this: we just had a big thing about an open mic here in town where people were saying things that the venue, who's not an open mic for comedy, is what they say, but they've been doing an open mic for comedy for like 2 years. It's not an open mic for comedy; it's an open mic for music, and the venue is very. What is the other one? Left leaning.
Mm-hmm.
Left leaning.
So they're very left leaning. So you can't say stuff about sexuality and gender, and they say you can't tell jokes like that here or about race here at this club.
You can't say jokes about race.
About race or sexuality.
I'm
So
out.
they say that, and
Yeah.
it was like somebody said something. I think it was a young black comic, actually. I don't know what he said, if it was about race or it was about gender, because I wasn't there. But so there's a huge thing about it, and there's been at least 2 mics that's been shut down here because the venue didn't like what comedians were saying, and this is in the last couple of years. So yeah, we are fighting that. So when I went there, I was like, oh, this is my place.
Well, Louisville, there are certain spots
Austin,
where
that
the
is.
people that are running the mics, it's more, they're kind of an
Whatever
alt
politically
comic. Yeah,
way
it's
they
more of
are,
an
they want
alt
you to
comedy.
perform that too. Yes.
But I still go in and perform my sets. Now they don't ask me to do their showcases, and they don't let me just walk up and I have to sign up for
Do
these.
you hear me?
And I understand it, and that's cool. But the Louisville Comedy Club, the Caravan, the High Horse, 21st in Germantown, Kaiju, all these places.
Yes.
You are there to be a comic.
Yes.
You say what you want. I've not
And you
had
have
any
fun. And
yeah.
you're not trying to hurt nobody.
Yeah.
That's the
Be funny.
thing.
That's the only rule.
There you go.
The thing is intent. I think a lot of times
100%.
because I'm not one of these people who say nothing is because I can't tell you that you're not offended by something. You have
Right.
a right to be offended by something. Now, how you respond to how you're offended by something is different.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't sit there and say, hey, you shouldn't be offended by this. I mean, you have every right to be whatever it may be.
You can be whatever you want to
Right.
be.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of times it's about people's intent. So like, is somebody who's doing the joke, is it meant to be like facetious or malicious? And you can tell. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And people
Yeah,
act like
you
you can't.
can
You can
tell
tell.
if you're just being a dick.
If I go up there and I just say a slur out of nowhere, okay, yeah, you're not even trying. You know what I mean? Like, but I think it's more of what is the purpose of you telling this joke? Are you
Yeah.
just telling it just to see that you can piss people off?
Yeah.
Okay. Or are you trying to take something that's a serious or topic and make it, funny or make it relatable or try to teach something? Then I think that's different.
100%. Yeah.
Because you got people like that go up at these mics that I was talking about that get to go up regularly, and just not funny, and they say outlandish stuff, and people are like,
It's about the delivery of the outlandish thing
and
too.
it's like,
If they almost don't believe in it because they know there's pressure against them to
Right.
say these things. So it's like there's this weird loop that you get caught in as a young comic who's trying to find their voice, and I think that has to do with is just not having those hours of experience on stage and being able to deliver the joke properly, right? Like you guys both know, like you have to have this format to jokes, and there's not just one. There's like stories, there's one-liners, there's the original like setup, middle punch.
Yeah.
So there's all these different flows that we can kind of take and use to deliver a joke, sort of like a magic trick.
Right.
Like a magician has different ways to reveal these cards and these things to us. But like I think as a newer comic, even if that's the way that you think, like it's hard to deliver it. So you kind of have to almost bend to the will
Right.
of the bookers or the clubs in these alt rooms to get stage time at first. And I'm a
Right.
victim to that. But it made me a better writer. Going and performing at this place that they say that we can't do these things, I have been able to still be good and go to that place and not be offensive, and then just do my other stuff other places.
Right.
But it's not that I don't like it though, right? I don't like that they're stepping on toes. It makes me uncomfortable about my freedom of speech and about how like I want to be represented. It's hard to fully be funny if you think that you're going to hurt someone.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
You're
how do
in
I
your
come from a
head.
good place if you're already thinking that I'm in the wrong?
It's a balance too. I feel like because that's the hard part is seeing how I want to be able to be me and be my voice and what I think is funny, but for me personally, I'm like my goal on stage is never to hurt somebody's feelings or offend somebody, but
right.
that can
It
happen.
happens.
It happens.
It happens.
But I never go on stage like, hey man, I'm going to piss off
Yeah.
whoever. I never would say that
this.
because if you're going on stage, I
Then
feel like
you're
that's the
not-
wrong approach.
You're not being a comic.
Right.
You're being a dick.
Right.
It's in good fun. It's
But-
all in good
yeah.
fun.
I mean,
right?
I can do, but also, it's just like somebody told me, like, no matter who the president is, no matter how great of a president they are, whoever it is, a lot of people are not going to like it. And so, no matter what joke you do on stage, for the most part, it can be an abortion joke. There's going to be people
That are
who
mad
don't like it.
that you even brought up.
Yeah, either
Yes.
way,
Thank
either
you.
way.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could be pro-abortion. I could be against it. I mean,
but the
it doesn't
fact that
matter.
you mentioned it,
Right, so-
you're the.
There's
bro.
a war against
yeah.
stand up, dude.
That's
Yeah.
like it's like I went up to Vermont a couple weeks ago to bury my brother-in-law. While I was there, I found the mic. I went in there. I watched people go up. I was on the list. I all this and that, and I watched some people go up, and they were mostly alt comic type stuff. There was a couple that were, real good. And then I got up there and I started with a one of my openers, and like the way it hit, I was like,
That's
And
the
then-
worst.
And then I was like, okay. And I told another one, and they laughed, but the laughter died quick. And I was like, okay, I understand what's going on here. So I didn't put tags in certain
Yeah.
places. I did jokes. I had a good 5 minutes. They laughed. They loved it. And when I left, I know they will enjoy me coming back there when I go back to visit my father-in-law again.
Yeah.
My wife, on the other hand, because her family from Atlanta was there watching, looked at me and said, "What the fuck was that?" She's like, she's looking at him like he's got way better jokes. I don't know. He's emotional. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going. And I was like, "No, babe, read the room."
Yes.
Read the room.
Your crowd.
That's
and
what
know-
her. That's
yeah.
what her cousin told her because he's from Atlanta, and he was like, and he's from the islands, Panamanians part. He's got the accent somewhat. I can't do it. He's like, no, he couldn't do that here. Did you
Right.
not see where we were at?
Exactly. For
We're
me,
in Burlington, Vermont.
I was gonna just say it adds to what we were talking about. It might have been before we started recording, but Will mentioned improving during your sets.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of that too, like being able to change up what you have versus what you have when you're in this room in the moment is a skill also
Yeah.
that goes along with improv. But I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Do
What
you-
were you saying? Is that my cat that did that?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna grab her, but you go ahead.
I was gonna ask you guys when you get up on like stage or whatever, do you feel like you need to be able to be funny to every different type of crowd as a whole? So like I was discussing with some comics in Louisville, and we were disagreeing because they were saying that you should do every single type of room, which I'm not against, like when you're trying to work on new material, and that you should be able to be funny in every room. And I disagree with that because I think that there's very, very few comics in general that are going to be able to be equally successful in every room, no matter how good they are.
Not nary one of these people on this wall would work in every room.
I'll say this.
They because there's people that the audience doesn't like everything. Not everybody likes everything. I feel like that's impossible.
No, I do think
it's good to work other rooms.
I do think that if there's a few comics that could do that, like that are famous, or even some that may not be famous that can do that, but even some of the greats, you know what I mean? If I took like Bernie Mac is not going to do as great in a Seinfeld audience. That his and that's why I think that's why people have demographics. You know,
and that's like Seinfeld himself now says he will not play a college campus.
Yeah,
before he quit, he don't think he does anything anymore.
Young people are not going to get what he's doing.
You're not going to understand.
Do you think Seinfeld would do great in Monique's demographic? It's no, and it's okay. I think that the point is that it's okay. People. They're different people. People have different cultures. They have different way that they view things.
Yes.
So you're never going to be as funny to everybody. And I think that you should go to different mics and you should try out your material because you do want to be as broad as you can without losing who you are as a comedian.
Yes.
But you're always going to have a crowd that you do well in or do, and you may have multiple, and you're going to have crowds that you don't do well in.
As your fan base grows, the demographic of it widens.
It can.
You're gonna get a mix, and then that's when the bigger names that can play those different rooms, and you go in there and it's a sea of mixture of people in their fan base when you go to these clubs.
I have rooms that I do great in typically, and I have rooms that I do okay in, and I have rooms that I do terrible in or bad in. The only room I can say I traditionally do bad in or hood rooms. So if it's a crowd
in them.
Yeah, right. But I have a theory about white dudes. I have a theory about white dudes in hood rooms, though. But
please share this.
My theory is
they like laughing at us.
Please share this.
My theory is that if you're a white dude and you go to a hood room, they already assume that you're white and you're weird, and that you're different because hood people think that white people are weird and different, which isn't wrong.
It's true,
but. Because the culture different. So
you see, right?
We're
not acting like you didn't say that.
What is wrong?
We're acting like you didn't say that.
So when a white person goes up there and they're talking about this weird shit or this wild different shit, black people are like, oh yeah, that's funny. We already expected him to talk about kissing his dog in the mouth or whatever the fuck it may be. You know what the fuck it may be. You know what I mean?
That's the most stereotypical thing you could go with.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
I'm
just saying. Picking apples. I don't know what white people do in their spare time.
I don't do either one of those.
But whatever it is, black people are like, okay, we already know he's gonna say some different shit. But if a black comic, if you go into a room and you're not speaking on the things that they're relating to, it's more difficult.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I have a hood friend. Yeah, I have a hood friend who hates Hannibal Buress, and it makes 100% for him because he's like, I don't really fuck with what Hannibal Buress has to say because that shit doesn't relate to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like a Hannibal Buress kind of comic. I could see
similar. Hannibal Buress is one of my favorites.
You got the white pool for sure, bro. Like you definitely got the white audiences, especially the younger kids.
I do good in the hood rooms just because I get up there and talk about being poor and doing drugs and
it's relatable.
Yeah, it's relatable. It's like they're like, hey,
you're like, you want to hear about how I grew up, and they're like, this guy is weird, and I'm like, thank you.
But like honestly, like if it's just redneck rooms, I do great.
You do great.
Redneck rooms,
club, you kill.
Yeah, club rooms. Like if it's a club,
I want to add to what we were talking about just before that theory, and that tell me if you guys relate to this. We got 5 left. Okay, tell me if you guys relate to this. Now I heard this recently. And my friend Kyle Dowdy said this, and he said that comics who kill really hard also bomb really hard when they're out of their element or out of their crowd or whatever it is. Would you guys agree that comics who kill really hard also are hard bombers? Would you say the same? Would you say that correlates?
I can see that in some instances because if you're a really good comic and you are crushing, that means that you're taking a lot of risk. And like the jokes you're doing are risky, not necessarily in edginess, but they may be, you know what I mean? Like you ever seen comics and you're like, what gave you the confidence to do that joke the first time? Because I know it was shit the first time you did it,
Exactly.
and I see it now, and it's killing. But I know the first time you acted that out and you did that it went poorly. So you have to have a lot of confidence.
Yes.
So I feel like I could see that being because and people who just like they do a joke and they hang on that joke. If it doesn't kill, then it looks really bad.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah,
and you know when you get to doing better and get to play in bigger rooms or larger crowds, and then you're like, that joke killed with 15 people.
Yeah.
There's 75 people here and nobody's laughing. Then you're just mortified. You have no idea how this worked out or didn't work out or why it went this way. Like, what's going on here? What did I do? You know, and so it can feel worse than, you know, just a regular bomb in a smaller room.
It definitely can, dude. Yeah. Oh man, a big bomb. Everybody's due a bomb. Before we close? Do you guys want to say your worst bomb ever? Can we do it? Can we do it in like a minute each?
Yeah.
Worst bomb. And
I'd say closing Planet or either closing Planet of the Tapes
That'll do it.
or opening for Isabel Hagen at Planet of the Tapes, The Late Show. I'd say opening for Isabel because I had a great set. Except for 5 minutes before the show started, 22 people from the local orchestra walked in. Because, of course, she plays the viola. So they came to see her little... They didn't come for comedy. So the first joke I told was about a deaf kid getting his fingers blown off. Lost him. Immediately.
A bunch of percussionists don't want to hear about a bang.
Yeah.
Right?
Bunch of string players don't want to hear about
Some kick in his hand.
fingers blown off. I mean, that was a rough 10 minutes.
That's a big swing to just like Will was saying earlier. That's a big swing.
And that's a great joke. It kills everywhere else. But I was like, I'm gonna do it anyways.
Yes.
And then when I went back there, the headliner loved it. She was like, "Great set, it was amazing. We're still friends. We talked." But yeah, the crowd hated me.
What about you, Will?
Oh, it was a hood crowd in Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
Woo, home.
Yeah, and it was bad. It was all the way bad because
How much time were you doing?
I was doing, I want to say 15 minutes, and most of the crowd was there. They were a big family. And they had just come for their grandmother's funeral. So like the big matriarch of the family died. I'm talking about it was like 70 people, uncles, aunts, cousins, whatever. And so I'm in there, and one of my homies had just got shot and killed, and he died, and his funeral was that day too. So I started off by trying to relate to them and being like, not trying to make a joke. I was like, yo, man. I was like, it's tough, losing, someone that you care, enough about. I was like, I know that, it's your grandmother, and but it's like one of my best friends. I was like, it's tough. And I wasn't even making jokes. I was just trying to relate. And I guess they thought I was about to go into a joke about their grandma. And then one of the girls in the front goes, we ain't going to do that to Granny. So keep it moving. And I was like, no, I wasn't trying to joke. She said, no, we don't want to hear that shit. You better say something else. And I was like, that's how it started off. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I start doing my set. It's going poorly because I'm talking about shit they don't give a fuck about. They're already mad at me, and they really don't give a fuck about my material. I'm talking about, whatever.
Comic books and
Adopted
shit.
by a white mom. As soon as he said he had a white mom,
I'm talking about, kissing dogs in the mouth or some shit.
This fucking cracker.
Your white boy shit.
And then so like I'm struggling. I'm struggling bad. I'm struggling real bad. And then one of the uncles gets up from the back and starts heckling me. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is where I'm gonna joke on them back, and I'm gonna get them back on my side. I threw a joke, it did not land, and then I threw another one, it did even worse. And so now I'm just getting heckled, and I can't come back with anything. Then the worst part of it is one of the aunts gets up and she goes, y'all leave that baby alone.
So you got defended by the family.
Yeah. So now you're feeling sorry for me. So now it's even worse. So I'd rather you hate me. So then she was like, now mind you, when she said that, I was probably like